Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, and this is going to be a review of the analog photography that I've taken in 2020. So 2020 was a very weird year, what with the pandemic and lockdown and having a baby, but we did manage to go out for quite a few countryside walks during lockdown, so that's mostly what these images are. This first couple is from January. It was taken with my Agfa camera using ISO 400 film, and these are when I was very early on in my pregnancy, so I felt very tired and these walks were quite a lot of effort. February, now I was feeling a little bit better, but still when these images were taken nobody knew that I was pregnant. This was a walk in just the park local to where my mum lives, and this nice heart tree was around Valentine's Day. You can see these are also taken with my Agfa camera, and obviously there was some light exposure. This is probably the first image on the roll of film, and that's why half of the picture is bleached out. And this is a very blurry selfie that I took because clearly the Agfa camera has too many settings for me and I don't know how to use it, so that's the result. I do prefer some of my more straightforward, simpler cameras. Now moving on to March, again with the Agfa, and I'm sorry that I don't know exactly what type of film that I've used for all these images. I did try and look it up, but I just don't take records. Basically, it's quite hard to keep track when I'm using lots of different cameras, lots of different films, all running simultaneously. I'm just not very organised. This was Mother's Day weekend, and you can kind of see that I have a little bump, although I am wearing quite a big chunky jumper. This was when lockdown started, so it was a bit depressing because our Mother's Day plans did get cancelled, but we did go on a nice walk. So this is April, and this was taken with the Fujifilm disposable camera, which has Fujifilm film inside, ISO 400. This is Cherry Blossom, which is my most favourite thing ever in the entire world. Possibly slightly less than my baby, but only slightly. And we had really nice weather for spring and summer, which made lockdown a lot more bearable, especially because where we are very countryside-y, so we were able to get out and about and go for walks in the nice green open spaces where there weren't that many people as well, unlike people that were cooped up in small flats or in cities. So this is walking along the canal, and this was taken again with the Fujifilm disposable camera, and it does get some really nice pictures. I really like disposable cameras. This was May 2020, and the weather was again really nice, although this is obviously using black and white film. I think it's the Ilford black and white ISO 400. This was taken with my action sampler, which is why there's 4 images. The camera takes 4 pictures in very quick succession. It's supposed to capture movement. Obviously these images, you don't really see any difference between the images. They are very slightly different, but it just didn't really work with what I was actually taking pictures of. So this is still May, but this was using my Lomography Diana F Plus camera. It is the F Plus because you can attach a flash, although I don't have the flash for it, so I just kind of think of it as Diana. As you can see, you get a lot of double or multiple exposures, which I can never say. I always want to say exposures. Sometimes it feels like an explosion. You can't really control for them very well, which makes it kind of fun and quirky and interesting, but can be quite frustrating if you just want to take a nice straightforward picture. More Cherry Blossom, again my most favourite thing in the entire world. You can also see that Diana gives you that kind of dreamy / blurry out focus quality that people like it for, and some of these images are a little bit overexposed. There are some settings that you can change on the Diana, but it is pretty much supposed to be point and shoot and then just see what happens, which is the fun part but also the frustrating part. And moving on to June, and this was with my Agfa camera, and we were actually able to meet up with some family during June because lockdown did ease a little bit. I was still pregnant, quite heavily pregnant at this point, but we did go to a nice kind of country estate with a park. We couldn't go around the house, but we could look around the gardens, so that's what these pictures are. And it was just a really nice, very hot sunny week that I had off work, that I was able to see some family, which was so nice after several months of not really being able to do very much. So I think the images look really nice, but that's mostly because they're of pink flowers, and I do love pink and I do love florals. I'm afraid I didn't get very many pictures of people or anything really happening or myself on my analog pictures, which would have been nice because I had like the big bump, so it would have been nice to have a bit more documentation, although I did take obviously a lot of phone cameras. So this is back with the Diana camera, still in June. This is using the Metropolis film, which is supposed to give this slightly different colorway, which you can kind of see in these images, but because I think I did drop the camera and the back came off, so a lot of these images did get a lot of light exposure. They've been obviously really affected. Potentially you could think of them as being ruined, but they're just quite fun, I suppose, by that. And so you can't really tell that there's any difference with the film. I actually kind of forgot that I'd used the Metropolis film on these images. Moving on to July, still it was really, really hot. So this is my Diana camera, and I did use it when we went to, again, another estate house where we weren't able to look around the house, but we were able to meet up with boyfriend's family for the first time in quite a few months. I totally forgot it was black and white film, and also I totally forgot that with Diana camera, what you see in the viewfinder is not what you actually get on the image, so a lot of stuff is cut off. August, and the major event was the birth of baby boy. It was super weird to happen during lockdown. It was an amazing thing to happen during a really horrible, just rubbish year, but I would have preferred it to have happened in a year when we could actually see family and celebrate and get out and about a little bit more. So these were taken with the Fujifilm disposable camera, again ISO 400, using the Fujifilm that's just in the camera. And again, I really like disposable cameras. I do think that you do get a lot of images out of them. They're really straightforward, really easy. No, you can't change the settings, and no, you don't have that much control. And as you saw with the first image, they're not great in low light, they're not great inside, but you do get a lot of pictures back, and they're just quite easy and simple to use. In September, I was able to get out and about following my C-section, so it took about a month before I could really go for like a walk of any distance. So this is the baby in the carrier and me feeling pretty good about getting out and about, as the weather was still nice, although it was moving a little bit more autumnal. In September, we were also able again to meet up with some of boyfriend's family. We also met up with some of my family, but these are just the images that I've got of when we went to an outdoor art gallery space that's relatively nearby. Again, using the Fujifilm disposable cameras, because I did buy a couple of them in anticipation of baby's birth. So that's what I'm using for these shots. They're a little bit out of focus, a little bit blurry, but I mean that's what you get with analog photography, unless you are using a very good camera and you are a very good photographer, which I am not, and I am not. I couldn't find any pictures for October, but then I couldn't quite tell what was October, what was November. So I just don't think I took very many, if at all. So this is November, and this is obviously totally out of focus, but that is me with the baby. We went on a few autumnal walks, and this is the Diana camera, and I thought this was a nice image of the leaves and the trees and stuff, even if it's not the crispest quality. And then I just got a few from December. It's obviously quite grey. It's black and white film in my Diana camera, but it just seems quite atmospheric, and there's like the blurriness to it makes it look a little bit dreamy, like it's not quite real. That was a local farm, and this is a walk with my mum, so that's my mum on the left hand side, and you can see the fields and the sheep, and that's the end of my review of 2020. So it was a weird year, it was a rubbish year in many ways, it was an amazing year because of baby boy. It was such a strange year for everyone, and it's 2021 and it still is a really weird time and experience, but I did get quite a few analog pictures and do quite a few rolls of film, and we did go on quite a few nice walks. So I hope you've enjoyed looking at the pictures. If you have, please leave me a comment. If you've liked the video, give it a like, and if you want to see more, please do subscribe.